The 7 words uttered by a tall stranger clad in a flowing white robe transformed my existence eternally. Join me on this journey. Believe me, they will come to regret this decision. I found myself seated on the frigid marble floor of Dubai International Airport, trembling, famished, utterly isolated, as he halted directly in front of me, gazing down at the weeping American girl, encircled by gold shops she couldn't ever to inhale in proximity. However, allow me to rewind 4 hours to the instant I became aware of my own mother had abandoned me. At the age of 14, I found myself at gate 23, observing the plane to Bangkok taxied down the runway, carrying my family while I remained behind, feeling very much excluded. Just me, a slender youth in an oversized t-shirt, gradually coming to terms with the realization that my mother had gazed at my brother, trusted his fabrications, and stepped into that aircraft, soaring away without a moment's hesitation. She remained aware of my presence in the crowd, never losing track or becoming disoriented. She intentionally walked away from me. And 4 hours later, as the police reached out to her in Bangkok, she discovered the true intentions of her golden boy. When she realized this wasn't about a getaway, but about $600,000, her face turned as pale as death. To grasp why this moment turned out to be the most significant event in my life, you must understand the extent of my invisibility throughout my entire existence. I am Molly Underwood. I am currently 32 years old, and I manage a thriving import-export enterprise. However, at the age of 14, I was essentially the background character of the family. Some individuals have a remarkable ability to brighten a space simply by entering it. I found myself in stark contrast. I found myself a living wallpaper, the type of child who could linger at the dinner table yet remain unseen. My mother, Patricia, toiled through double shifts in her role as a hospital administrator. She had been carrying on with it ever since my father passed away when I was 6. The loss of Dad profoundly affected our family, but it was my brother Spencer who felt it the most deeply. Or at least that is what my mother always had faith. Spencer was just 9 years old when we lost our father. From that moment, he was seen as the man of the house in my mother's perspective. Spencer was 3 years older than I, star quarterback, perfectly aligned teeth, the sort of smile that caused teachers to overlook his unfinished assignments. He was infallible, and I truly mean that after 17 years. Not once did I witness my mother hold Spencer accountable for anything. If something shattered, I was the cause of it. If funds have disappeared, I must be the one responsible for it. If a conflict arose, I was the one who initiated it. I discovered at a young age that resisting was futile. Thus, I transformed into the accommodating figure, the subdued presence, the A person who remained silent, sought no recognition, and stirred no trouble. I contemplated if I were just good enough, small enough, invisible enough. Perhaps one day my mother would finally notice me. She simply didn't. My grandmother Nora, who is my dad's mother, resided in Tucson, which is roughly a 2-hour drive from our home, within the vibrant city of Phoenix. During the summers, when her mother took on extra shifts, Spencer would spend time with her. Grandma Nora stood as the sole individual who appeared to acknowledge my presence. She would mail me books, remember to call on my birthday when Mom overlooked it, and share her thoughts with me. Tales of my father from my childhood. Yet as time passed, she aged, and I found myself unable to see her as often as I desired. The summer I turned 14, a change began to unfold. I have been accepted into an exclusive creative initiative. An important matter: complete scholarship. This is precisely the sort of achievement that ought to have filled my mother with pride. In regard to different me, for a fleeting instant all eyes were on me. Spencer loathed it. He remained silent, yet I could sense his resentment hung in the air like a chilling draft, unsettling and pervasive. He began to make subtle remarks about how art programs were a waste of the passage of time, the likelihood of bringing embarrassment to the family, the notion that the scholarship may have been an error. My mother stood by without defending me. She simply shifted the topic. Approximately a week prior to our vacation, an unusual occurrence occurred. I arrived home early from school, just a half day due to teacher meetings, and I heard Spencer's voice echoed from within his room. The door stood slightly ajar, revealing him engaged in a phone conversation with someone. I did not make an effort. I intended to listen in, but his words froze me in place. He mentioned the trust fund, and she must not discover it. As soon as I reached the age of 18, it's managed. I inadvertently trod upon a creaky floorboard, prompting him to burst forth, slamming his door in a hasty retreat. Are you observing me? His face flushed, a storm of anger brewing within. I have just returned home. I wasn't. Stay out of my way. Business, Molly. I truly mean it. He brushed by me and descended the stairs. I lingered in that moment, enveloped in a haze of confusion. What is it? Is there a trust fund? What was he referring to? At that moment, it eluded my grasp. I long for what could have been. A few days later, we set off on our grand adventure, a trip with the family. Mom had secured a trip to Thailand by winning a workplace lottery, a raffle organized by the hospital. It was after years without a proper getaway, I found myself truly thrilled for my first real vacation. 2 weeks in Thailand, coastal shores, sacred shrines, thrilling escapades. The journey led us from Phoenix to Dubai for a 6-hour layover awaits, before continuing the journey to Bangkok. I traveled with minimal baggage, just a single suitcase. Spencer delivered 3. I recall making a jest to myself about it, how I had come to understand not to occupy space in this family, even in the storage area for bags and belongings. The journey to Dubai stretched on, yet I found it quite tolerable. I occupied a window seat, and I devoted the majority of my time to it, engaging with literature and enjoying films. Spencer and his mother occupied a couple of rows in front of me. Occasionally, I would catch sight of them. They were laughing about something, and I felt that familiar pang of exclusion, but I suppressed it as I always did. Upon our arrival in Dubai, fatigue washed over me, yet I was filled with wonder. The airport was truly remarkable, resembling a grand structure crafted from shimmering glass and elegant marble. The bathroom I visited boasted superior lighting compared to my whole school. There existed gold boutiques and high-end retailers, along with eateries that seemed straight out of a glossy publication. I roamed, wandering with my mouth slightly ajar, sensing the awkwardness of a commoner who had accidentally entered a grand palace. My fashion selections didn't assistance needed. I donned my beloved oversized band tee, representing a rock group I hardly tune into these days, paired with jeans that were a bit too long since I had purchased them on sale. I appeared just as I was, a 14-year-old kid from Arizona, completely unaware of her actions. Spencer proposed that we separate to discover the terminal while we waited for our next flight. He mentioned he would take Mom to explore the Gold Souk area, while I could wander off to the bookstore. I found myself feeling quite joyful concerning the matter. In my family, tranquility was a fleeting luxury, and I yearned to savor the solitude. Before I departed, Spencer kindly offered to hold the bag I carry on my back. You certainly wouldn't want to carry that with you all the time. I will ensure its safety. That backpack contained my passport, my boarding pass, my emergency cash, the $40 my grandmother had entrusted to me before the journey. I passed it to him without contemplating. What reason do I have not to trust my brother? I longed to return to that moment. I longed to take hold of that girl by the shoulders and urge her to grip her bag as if her very existence relied on it. For it certainly did, in its own manner. I ventured After a quick stop in the bathroom, I spent about 15 minutes perusing the bookstore before making my way back to our meeting point near Gate 23. Spencer and my mother had departed. I waited for 30 minutes, then 45. I whispered to myself they had become sidetracked while shopping, losing all sense of time. Yet a nauseating sensation lingered, expanding within me. At last, I located an information desk and inquired about our flight to Bangkok. The individual who stands behind the desk, she typed something into her computer, then turned to me with a look of concern. The flight has already embarked, my dear. It's currently making its way to the runway. No, my family is on that flight. I should be involved in that journey. She took another look. Patricia Underwood stepped aboard. Spencer Underwood embarked. Molly Underwood. Absent. My heart ceased to beat. My sight became hazy. I believe I requested her to say it again 3 times before the words finally penetrated my mind. They abandoned me. My mother and I. My brother boarded that plane and took off to Thailand, leaving me behind. As I remained motionless, I was completely unaware that in just a moment, after more than 2 hours, I would uncover the precise reason. Before we proceed, if you're enjoying this tale, I invite you to subscribe and share in the comments your location and the time there. Your comments resonate deeply with me, and I truly appreciate each one of them. I appreciate your support. Let us return to the tale at hand. I found myself standing at that information desk, utterly immobilized. The woman at the counter engaged in conversation, inquiring about my well-being, asking if I was all right, was someone she could reach out to. Yet her voice resonated as if it were submerged in water. All seemed far away, as if it were a dream. My family had abandoned me. My mother had boarded a plane and taken off into the sky, absent her 14-year-old daughter. A security officer came up to me and requested my passport. "I don't possess it," I murmured. "My brother has it." "Your boarding pass? He has that as well." The officer shared a glance with the woman at the counter's rear. I observed them deep in thought, weighing their options. A solitary child devoid of identification, without kin, and lacking clarity. It was only much later that I discovered the true extent of Spencer's actions. As I stepped into the bathroom, he made his way directly to the entrance. He informed the airline staff that I was flying with other family members on a subsequent flight due to our purchase, single tickets, rather than a family bundle. Some arrangements come through the lottery associated with my mother's job. No warning signs were present. The gate agent verified his name, confirmed my mother's name, and allowed them to board. However, prior to that, he had experienced a dialogue with my mother. He informed her that I had unleashed a considerable outburst in the bathroom. He mentioned that I had been conversing. I was connecting online with a boy I met on the internet, searching for him in Dubai. He asserted that I yelled at him. I expressed my disdain for the family and my desire for eternal solitude. My mother, weary, overwhelmed, shaped by years spent in unwavering trust, accepting every word Spencer uttered as truth. She never sought me out. She never requested to address me directly. She merely nodded, her lips pressed together in anger, and trailed behind Spencer onto the plane. She contemplated was imparting a lesson on gratitude, on the importance of restraint, and on understanding my role. She was completely unaware she was abandoning her daughter in a foreign land due to her son's deceit. Yet, I was unaware of any of that. All I understood was that I was utterly isolated, without a passport. Spencer had seized it from my satchel. Insufficient funds. The $40 I had set aside for emergencies was tucked away in that same bag. No mobile device. Before the trip, my mother took it away, aiming to reduce screen time while we were on vacation. I couldn't even recall my mother's phone number from memory. As is common for many teenagers, I depended on my contacts list. I might have. She mentioned that her number began with a 6, perhaps. But after that, there was nothing more to share. And an airline employee kindly offered to attempt reaching out to her on my behalf. They retrieved her number from the booking records and made the call. It went directly to voicemail. She had set her phone to airplane mode, embodying the essence of a conscientious traveler. The irony was absent eludes me. The security personnel continued to pose inquiries. From where did I originate? Where were you, my guardians? Do I have any family members in the UAE? Was there anyone I knew that I could get in touch? I found myself without any answers. Only tears and panic, accompanied by the dawning awareness I found myself entirely and profoundly isolated in one of the vastest airports on the planet, halfway across the globe from where I belong. They escorted me to a modest security office as they deliberated on the next steps. I'm getting myself. A compassionate woman offered me water and tissues, yet I could sense the worry etched on her face. I found myself to be a source of difficulty and a potential crisis on the horizon. I lingered in that office for what seemed like an eternity, though it was likely just 45 minutes. Thoughts swirled in my head, repeatedly returning to the same inquiries. What is the reason? Is this something Spencer would consider? Why doesn't Mom come to see how I'm doing herself? Why did no one seek me out? And then, unexpectedly, his voice resonated within my mind. The trust fund. She is unable to discover the truth. As I reached the age of 18, Spencer was just 3 months away from celebrating his own milestone birthday. I was completely unaware of the existence of a trust fund. My mother never discussed my father's finances, only that we were at ease and that she put in great effort to maintain that for us. Yet Spencer was aware something. He had been concealing a secret. And now he had abandoned me in Dubai. 3 weeks prior to the moment when our father's estate would finally be within his reach. This was no joke. This was not a mere case of sibling rivalry.